our job is to be focused on growing their skills and growing their confidence. And if all that we have is 30 minutes a week with each of our direct reports, then we're really immersed in the business. We're not actually growing people at all. To be growing our people, it means being able to sit in on their meetings as a fly on the wall. It means being able to sit in on their phone calls and listen in to be able to give them feedback. It means being able to be there for them to help brainstorm and help solve problems and look at plans and review their metrics with them. And not in a managing them way, but in a way that we're helping to inspire them, helping to grow them, being a confidant, and making them feel like they're not completely alone and scrambling. And then also taking a look at the stuff that's on their plate, taking a look at what's on their schedule, and finding out what are the things that we can do to, free up some of their time so that they're being able to work on the business as well. I think often our direct reports are so kind of in the business and focused and working that if we can help free up their time, that's really powerful as well. I think that a CEO should only ever have 5 direct reports at most, because they also have culture, the board, and legal as kind of direct reports to think about and spend time on, because they also have to manage and work with the CEO. They've got to remove themselves and be immersed in strategy. But if all we're doing, if we're like go, 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 we're not seeing the forest for the trees. And I think as we grow as leaders, we're often much better at saying no. Very junior leaders tend to say yes to everything. The number one solution for an early stage manager is to hire more people. That's their solution to every problem. It's rarely the solution to a problem, right? More often than not, we can say no to the certain projects, or we can say not now to certain projects, or we can look to optimize the work, or we can look to automate the work. But if we as leaders are so busy working constantly, then we don't have time to step back and to look and to, observe.
Yeah, when it was just 10 of us in one store, man, we got stuff done. We kicked ass. But now that now that there's 100 of us and we're up to 5 stores, we added management, and now things seem to be moving slower. Why are things moving slow? We built you build a hierarchy and a chain of command and a governance model. So yeah, things may seem to be moving slower than they did in the past. But I guess the correlation is what got us to 10 stores is not going to get us to 20, right? So it's a different mindset. It's a different shift. It's about organized growth and structured growth.
Well, it's also about taking a look at some of the numbers in the business to start measuring some of our efficiency as well, right? As we scale a company, we have to go through 2 hurdles. And after we go through those 2 hurdles, efficiency starts to kick in. The first hurdle is when you hire your first managers, but they're not really at capacity yet. So you've got a management layer, and let's say you've got a call center manager and they're managing 5 people. Well, that call center manager could probably manage 20 people, right? So you've got the management layer of not doing work, overseeing a lot less people. And then your head of sales managing 3 salespeople when they could probably manage 14. And you got your, so you've got each of these heads of business areas are now overhead. That's a hurdle that you have to get through. The second hurdle is when you start hiring very senior, seasoned talent, like true leaders that have really run businesses, that have really run business areas, and they're all $200,000 to $250,000 a year people, right? They're all pure reason, and then you got to get through that hurdle, that big management layer in as well, right?
Yeah.
So the numbers that I look at are what's our revenue per employee, and I would go retroactive for the last 3 years. You can easily have your accounting person pull this for you by quarter. So for the last 12 quarters, what's your revenue divided by employees, and what was your gross margin per employee? And then the third metric is what's your salaries as a percentage of revenue? So your revenue per employee should be growing until you get to those 2 hurdle points. Your gross margin per employee should be growing until you get to those 2 hurdle points. And then your salaries as a percentage of revenue should be getting smaller, again, without those 2 hurdle points.
This conversation makes me think I've wanted to do a conference myself for years internally. But we have a lot of distributors all over the U.S. and uh, just bringing them all together in one place we just never been prepared for it. Unfortunately, we've never had our shit together enough.
It's not an easy thing to pull off. You don't need to have a lot of outside experts coming in as speakers. I would get 3 to 4 of your top distributors and I would have them present. I'd have them each do a 30-minute presentation on how they sell more, how they service more, how they grow their teams more, whatever, kind of masterminding. And then I would have a series of breakouts where you break out in groups of 5 and you mix up the breakout. So every breakout is a different group of 5 people and you talk through stuff and they share experiences, they share frustrations, but you just work through, issues together. So one breakout is, how are they dealing with their employee issues? One breakout is how are they dealing with their overhead issues? One issue is how are they dealing with, their customers? But I think you can create it so that they're sharing with each other, they're the experts, their wisdom, and they're masterminding together, and you're just facilitating it all. Then it's much easier than trying to think about, well, who are all the speakers going to be and how are they all going to get value and that kind of thing.
How would you incorporate making sure you had a high rate of people showing up? You do various, outreaches, and you pay for some of the first attendees, I think, rooms. What do you suggest with its customers, not necessarily the same situation?
Do you have different pricing levels for customers or for your distributors?
No, we've got a range of credit to offer. We issue. We this year we're going to have an issue with credit in regard to the issuing, and so if anything people are pissed off about right now is never going to be pricing, it's the credit levels.
So one thing you can do is that to get a certain credit level, they actually have to attend the annual event. So you just start packaging it and parceling it in a way that credit isn't given to somebody, it's given to the ones who are showing up, it's given to the ones that are 2 feet in. It's so we made it mandatory at 1-800-GOT-JUNK for 100% of our franchisees to attend the annual conference or send a general manager to attend the conference. It wasn't optional. So right from day one, they just knew. It wasn't like us begging them to come. It was it's not an option. You'll be in breach of your agreement if you don't come. Secondly was to make sure that there was so much good value that, they got value. For the COO Alliance, it's slightly different because we really have 2 kind of models. We've got the annual membership, and then we have the 2 in-person events a year. So we'll have 46 members at the event, which is about 30% of our current membership, which is good. That's a really good number. I don't really want to have more than 50 at the event. I really don't want it to be I wouldn't want 150 people at it. I don't want it to be this big production. I want to spend time with every member and get to know every member. So for me, it's more of a balance on, what's the real purpose of the event that you're putting on, and the purposes are going to be mixed, right? I stay in an Airbnb with my team so I can spend time with the team. We used to all stay in hotel rooms and we never saw each other. And now we literally, we're in a big Airbnb together. There's other value parts that are going to come off of an event as well.
Okay.
But I would sell them, don't tell them. Sell them on coming, don't tell them they have to be there.
Yeah, when you first brought it up, Cameron, and Matt, when you talked, I immediately dismissed it. It's getting customers together. It's not going to work for us. We're direct to consumer. But then I started thinking about it. I do have consumers who might buy $50,000 a year. I probably got 10 of them. They'll buy over $50,000 a year of luxury goods. We're talking Cuban link chains, bracelets, Rolexes, diamonds, sapphires. And so, Matt, you must have looked at the number and said, okay, it's going to cost X amount to run this event. And then you probably started thinking about the return on the investment, right? Were you thinking about soft returns? Was it to increase the current customer business spend? Was it referrals that they would refer you to their friends and family and network? How could I sell this over here at 5 Star Jewelers? Because I really want to do this because we only do business in one county. And so I can get those 10 customers that spend over $50,000 a year. I can get them, I'll take them to the dog track, or I'll take them to, a cruise to the Bahamas or something. But how do I sell it? Like, what should I expect to get back? Or am I looking at it the wrong way?
Yeah, well, I mean, selling it to them is a lot different from what you're going to get out of it, right? So, I mean, selling it to them is right as it's an event. For us, it's somewhat the way I sell it on our calls is I talk about how powerful those mastermind events are, right? And that you can make lifelong friends, business partners, and those sorts of things. And of course, dive deep into technicals. You get to actually meet in person. I always talk about how meeting over Zoom is amazing, right? That's great. But there's just something as humans about that human to human connection, right? We're social animals. We like to shake hands. We like to, do those sorts of things. If you meet Cameron in person, the access and talking with him is going to be different than just over Zoom, right? Cameron is really good about it, but you meet in person, you guys are going to be a little more relaxed and be like, hey, so give me the real deal. So that's how I sort of sell it, right? And so, and I think on their end, right, what they're looking at it is exactly that, is like, oh man, I'm going to finally, these people that I look up to, or these people that have the knowledge, I'm going to have access to them in a different way that's going to be a lot better than just sending a text message, essentially, right, and stuff like that. So they're going to get that access to you and your team. And then for them, that means that on the back end, right, like, well, now this person knows me as a human, knows me as a person, not just as a vendor or a buyer or a consumer. They get so much value that then they want to re-enter with us. They want to renew their contract with us.
And what Matt's strategy is really interesting as well is you get to know them, you get to know their triggers, their hot buttons. So you get to understand how do you sell other clients into that range as well. I would find your 10 or 20 top customers. Let's say your 10 top customers. I would identify who are your 10 top customers and who are your next 40. And the goal is over the next 2 years to take your next 40 to the same level as your top 10. And how do you take your top 10 and either keep them at that same spending level or grow them over the next 2 years as well? Here's some easy ideas though that could be really, really simple. If they spend a lot of money, you're in Miami or Tampa. Where are you guys based out of? Miami, right?
Miami.
Yeah. Pick a great restaurant in Miami and just get a private room at a great restaurant and host an amazing dinner. And by the way, don't get bottles of wine. Just have everybody order what they want to normally by the glass. I've run about 10 of those dinners over the years. I ran one last week for 18 people at TED.
Right.
18 people that I ran at TED, the total bill was $2,300 for 18 people. Canadian. Like surrounding her. So you literally invite your top 10 people. You say, we're just inviting our top 10 customers to an amazing at X. Or take them all to a soccer game and get a box of the soccer game, and you get to know each other. They get to know each other. I was taken as a large customer of Isuzu and General Motors. We were the 10th in the top 10 largest customers, and they invited me to go play golf at Pebble Beach. And I played golf at Pebble Beach with the president of Isuzu Japan and the president of GM Canada or GM US. There was Penske, Swan, Budget, Ryder, Iron Mountain, 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Like and we just played golf together for 3 days and had these amazing meals. And in my room at Pebble Beach was a Vokey wedge and a box of Pro V1s. And I was like, God, there was no speakers. It was just them getting to know me and me getting to know them. But you could do some really easy things like that in Miami.
He brought up the one thing, he had a lot of them at night after hours. Do you generally see that people are more successful with this as a company if it's after hours or during work?
Middle of the day, man. Hey, everybody hop on Zoom. We'll get together for an all-team meeting. And you don't tell them what it is, and they show up and they play music trivia and bingo for an hour. They're just like, that was ridiculous. You guys are in Indianapolis, I think, Nick?
Yeah.
Like you're coming into summer. Like you're just coming out of like shit season, right? So at some point in May or early June, like the first Thursday or Friday afternoon where it's really sunny out, tell everybody at 3:00, get the out of here and go to a patio and have a drink. We're good. Nobody wants to be there on the first couple of sunny days when it's night. Like, give them a patio pass. It doesn't cost you anything. You're paying their salary anyway. What happens is the more that we infuse, like, Brian at 1-800-GOT-JUNK was ridiculous. Like I constantly had to reel this guy back in. He was like a dragon and I was his leash. But he would come in one day and he'd walk in like on a random Tuesday in June wearing a Halloween outfit, and he'd walk around the office and hand out, you guys call them Mr. Freezies? You know, those like the 5-cent or 10-cent, 25-cent bucket popsicle in a plastic sleeve?
Oh, yeah.
He'd walk around, he'd hand out Mr. Freezies to everybody. So he'd go and spend like $8 at Costco, freeze them the night before, and then he'd show up wearing a Halloween costume dressed as a pimp, and he'd walk around and hand them. I'm like, you're ridiculous. But that literally the CEO walking around dressed as a pimp, handing out $8 worth of freebie. And it doesn't have to be tied to anything. Like, don't do this stuff because like, if we hit a goal, we'll have fun anyway, because having fun will help you hit the goals. Because at the end of the day, none of this shit matters and we're all going to die, right? And by the way, you can do this with your customer. You can do a Zoom call and invite your top 50 customers onto a Zoom call and not tell them what it is, and then do events and just play music trivia and music bingo for an hour with your top customers, over like your jewelry customers over Zoom. And they'll be like, what was that for? Just for fun. Hope you guys have a great day. And they're like, that was amazing.
Do you not believe in goal-based fun?
Yes, but I think that fun infuses energy, which helps us hit our goals. Okay. Nope. Think about this for a second. Watch any of the best coaches on the planet in any sport, and they're constantly high-fiving the team when they're coming off the field. They're slapping them on the ass when they're going back out. Like, they're doing everything they can to infuse the energy with the hopes of winning the game. If they reserved all of those high fives for only if we won the game, it would be an entirely different experience for the players on with them. So sure, they celebrate and have fun if they win, but they're still celebrating and having a good time along the journey.